Coming to you live from Chicago in my brother's apartment where the vibe is good. WrestleZone on a Monday, immediately after Monday Night Raw at the Performance Center in Orlando in our quarantined, even more upsetting times. We won't reference too much of what's going on. We may touch on it a little bit as much as it reflects the wrestling world. But if you're live with us, share the link. I'm Kevin Kelm with WrestleZone.com. And over there in Tampa, Florida, in the city where WrestleMania was supposed to be there, in Florida, the genitalia of America, Mr. Robert Fields. How you doing, Robert?
I'm doing, I think we're all doing. I think Monday Night Raw has come and gone, and it was a nice distraction, if nothing else. Kevin, what do we got going on here? Dominik Mysterio saying an eye for an eye. Seth Rollins on Raw Talk, launched on the new free WWE Network, just said, I know the perfect person to lead Dominik's career in WWE, and it's the Monday Night Messiah. What do we see going on here between Dominik and Seth Rollins?
Yeah, this was the most talked about thing with fans online coming out of the show tonight. They did a promo, and it was Seth Rollins holding Rey Mysterio's retirement ceremony, which was the angle. There was a lot of confusion about that when it was announced last week. Is he actually retiring? I'm always odd about that because I think we would have a clear idea of him retiring. I don't think he would retire and run a fan either. Great interview with him last year, by the way. Go give that. Mysterio wrestles school that interview. He told us exactly how he wants to end his career. It does involve his son Dominik that we've seen on and off TV for quite some time. This was the biggest promo of the show. Fell in the middle of the show. Ray cutting a promo from home with the Performance Center and his son Dominik stepping in and how upset they were. And it was serious. It wasn't, Rey Mysterio has been known to be a great promo, but he cuts these promos that remind you why you care about him. And if you just re-invoke why you care about him, it works. It was a tougher promo for Dominik because at some point Rey Mysterio got up from it and said, damn you for doing this to my family and all these different things. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in my eye. So they made it very clear that the eye injury is going to keep him out of the ring for a while. And then Dominik kind of took the ball and had solo time on the camera, same shot, pulling on scripture saying, an eye for an eye, which gives a lot of people the idea that Dominik Mysterio, the son of Rey Mysterio, could finally be getting in the ring. You see him get physical, the big splash on Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series. What do you think is going to happen here, man?
Yeah, well, while I tell the people what I think is going to happen, why don't you reboot as your little wonky?
I'll be right back with you, okay?
Alrighty, and what do I think is going to happen? I think Dominik Mysterio has become one of the will he or won't he stories in wrestling. He was on our TVs 15 years ago in a custody battle. That's a thing that we all remember and can't forget. He was featured heavily in Rey's feud with Samoa Joe, featured heavily with Brock Lesnar, even got to do the 619 with his dad. And now the Seth Rollins thing, and the Seth Rollins thing seems like he's going to fight him. At least try to fight him. So, I want to get to see what Dominik Mysterio Guerrero can do in the ring. So, I want to know you guys in the comments, what do you guys think about Dominik? Should he join Seth Rollins? Should he fight Seth Rollins? You tell me. I think that Dominik wrestling in WWE is imminent. I wouldn't say that it'll happen today, obviously, because he probably still needs more polish, but I can see it happening relatively soon.
Mm-hmm. All right, how am I coming to you?
You're looking a lot better, and you're sounding a lot better.
All right, good. Gotta love the constant connection issues with you. Dominik in the ring could be a very appealing thing, I think, for a lot of longtime fans. And is it appealing to a casual fan, though? If they're just like, who's this kid in the ring with Seth Rollins? Is it something you think could go over their heads?
The minute you say the words, he's Rey Mysterio's son, you put a little mask on him, you do a little mask action, you get that vibe going. Rey Mysterio is one of the guys. I'd put him right up there, honestly, with Cena, Undertaker. He's a guy that people just know. Mm-hmm. And people know that he was wrestling for them when wrestling was good. maybe they're just a fan of the Cena era, but they know how good Rey Mysterio was and is and can be. As soon as you say that's Rey's son, all bets are off.
All bets are off here. Jessica Hoffman saying, what if Dominik turns on her dad? You brought up what Seth Rollins did earlier tonight. I saw people already tweeting that he'll be the newest member of Seth's cult. So what do you think here? Benjamin A. Jones saying having a crowd makes it pretty cool. I wonder what a crowd would react to Dominik if he came out there. I think some of those trainees wouldn't be happy to see someone's kid run down to the ring and get into an angle right away with Seth.
I think they're already throwing salty treats at one Austin Theory. Okay,
salty treats. Who's getting salty treats tonight? Who's getting them salty treats?
I imagine that Austin Theory, you got some people in that crowd, Kev, that have been there for a while. I imagine they're gonna all stay like, oh, you evolve and you just get WrestleMania and now you're on Raw.
I'm in here doing 500 squats and then I have to stand here and watch other people be on TV.
Jessamine Duke sitting back here like, I know Ronda Rousey and this guy is sitting here on TV and I'm not.
I was on pay-per-view. Before I even got here. Yeah, everyone's doing that too. Tell us what you think of Monday Night Raw. Give us your rating 1 out of 10. Go ahead and give us that while you're watching the show here. Different people texting. Sean saying gives it a 7.5. Laura Rock gives it an 8.2. What else did you enjoy on this week's Monday Night Raw? We'll talk about the stuff that was kind of off and kind of, to me, there's a lot of mediocre things on this week's show.
Like what?
I kind of thought like the match with Nikki Cross against Billie Kay, it was a good match, and this has been a pretty good angle in terms of developing things and just kind of making things heated and reminding the Iconics can kind of be very spastic in a good way. But then you get this really manic character, Nikki Cross. I would have liked to see Nikki Cross get the win, but I understand the purpose of it. The match didn't really drive it home. Another thing, I like Kevin Owens and Apollo Crews calling each other out for the title. Apollo Crews is a new champion. Kevin Owens is back in the picture the past few weeks. He hasn't won a match. All right, this is a cool singles match, but then they do this like obvious thing that happens a lot. Singles match gets broken up by two guys that people like. Then the people that break the match up get a tag team match. Like that's been done. To me, it just felt like play by numbers to the point where they didn't even say this is going to be a tag team match when we come back from commercial break. It's like, we're going to run down here. Here comes Angel Garza and Andrade. They're going to run down here and break it up and we'll be back. And I'm not saying like those things are important, but it's important in terms of like logic, I guess. Like if Kevin Owens was fighting him, like just, I don't know, like it just felt like, so that's a very obvious thing. Like this is something I've seen too much of to me. I don't know. I just thought there's maybe another way because there's other things they've done that have had clever spins on them. And there's some stuff later in the night. I was like, that's a clever move. That's like really good. Circumstantially using what you're doing in the performance space. They did with Charlotte later in the night. And the tag team match was good. Wasn't great. Like it wasn't that. The bowling bit they did with the Street Profits and Viking Raiders, it was fine. I don't know how laser bowling makes you better at bowling. And these bits are kind of long in the tooth, but I do like that this was all done in like 4 minutes. Like the whole thing, like they don't have to stretch it out in multiple segments. But besides that,
you say stretch it out because next week, Kevin, they will be competing in a decathlon. That is 10 events.
10 events. So that they're going to have to spread out across the entire
night. They're going to have to spread it out. I want to see like a bit of axe tossing, a bit of Vikings, a bit of Profits. And of course, I assume they have to have a wrestling match at some point at Backlash, I assume.
Yeah. Scott George texting in here. Big fan of the show. Thank you so much, guys. Says, besides Seth versus Black opening match, Raw was very slow for me. I gave it a 5. I was waiting for something to happen, but it didn't. What did you think of Seth versus Black? I thought this was a very, very competitive match. Very, very hard hitting. They got a lot of time and maybe the best match on the show.
I would like for more things to get the treatment that Rollins and Owens got, where they just keep them apart. I think Black and Rollins could be a major money match, and I think they missed the boat there. That's just my take.
Once again, if you're just joining us, don't be afraid to share the link. Subscribe to the podcast, by the way. WrestleZone Radio. You get this show. You get the many, many interviews we've done recently, like Mance Warner, Duke the Dumpster Droese, all the classic stuff. Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho, Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins calling out CM Punk. We got that in the podcast feed. And you can go get it now. It is on iHeart. It is on TuneIn. And it is also now on Spotify. Someone's car alarm keeps going off outside. Sorry about that. So go check it out. Go listen to it whenever you want. If you don't want to stream the shows live, I know some people aren't Facebook people, or maybe your routines are changing now out of quarantine. You always have our stuff on demand. Also, it's available on YouTube, and you can watch these on demand on Facebook whenever you want as well. So moving along, other things I liked on Raw. Charlotte and Asuka, they didn't have a barn burner. They did not have a WrestleMania match. They had a match that served their angle. Earlier in the night, Nia Jax laid out Asuka's a running mate, her tag team partner, Kairi Sane. I see where this match didn't make a lot of people happy. Nia Jax is certainly angering people, and this is someone in the ring that she apparently injured a few weeks ago, right? So then later in the night, the interruption, she comes out with Asuka's music. She has the mask on. She does the whole wavy arm dance. And she has the mask. She has the makeup on. I saw people online get varying. How dare you steal Asuka's look? Asuka has crafted that look. People are very angry that someone stole her makeup. That is such a very specific thing to get mad about. But that broke up this match between Charlotte. There was a lot of that, just like interruptions and different distraction things I thought were like, this feels like play-by-number stuff. You know, it didn't feel like it ramped it up. It felt like this is another thing to keep the storylines going. Because like last week on Monday Night Raw, I really enjoyed it. I will say I'm enjoying seeing the crowd there, but this was another thing that kind of parlayed into the main event. We had MVP Drew McIntyre in the ring. Bobby Lashley is at ringside. Bobby Lashley going to take on Drew McIntyre at the pay-per-view in a few weeks for the title. And then Lana gets involved. And it's just a lot of distractions, a lot of stuff moving around. It felt like stuff you don't need to do when you can kind of focus on what's going on in the ring and tell the story there. Is that fair to say?
You know, I applaud them because they do not have to continue the Lana thing. They don't. Because Rusev got fired. They could have easily just dropped this the way they dropped lots of things in the history of WWE. But I applaud them for making this play into the Bobby Lashley growth. Mm-hmm. And we saw Lashley, who's really getting the full Nelson over, and that's a direct Paul Heyman. And I'm going to point you in the direction of the interview he did with Austin, where he suggested that Mark Henry get over us headlock, and as soon as somebody breaks out of that headlock at WrestleMania, it'll be a big moment. He's got Lashley trying to get over the full Nelson. This comes and goes in wrestling in waves. I think the last major guy to do it was Masters. Ironically, first guy to break it was Lashley. And I like this move for Lashley. I think it's a good play.
Vanessa Monique is texting in about the free version of the WWE Network that was launched today. We will talk about that in just a few minutes, but kind of wrapping up thoughts here on Raw. Did this excite you more for the pay-per-view? There were some things that did, but they were all promo heavy. The Mysterio Dominik segment made it work. I thought Rollins looked strong as a heel. I'm looking forward to. I think they're going to do a Rey Mysterio versus Backlash match. Maybe they do Dominik versus Seth Rollins. Who knows? That could be something. But the Edge and Orton feud is now built on just these kind of filmed-in promos. Orton cut one heck of a promo. I thought it was a great one where he kind of said, like, yeah, I do half-ass it because I'm that good. I don't have to try as hard as other people. I thought that was a good way to be a son of a bitch, right?
Right.
But overall, kind of covering Raw, I thought it was pretty ho-hum. I give it a 6.8. It was just it was fun stuff in the ring, but it didn't feel like it was consequential in terms of like ramping up the stakes. It just kind of maintained everything. Because last week's Raw and last week's SmackDown, last week's NXT, I thought were really, really fun. This one just kind of felt middle of the road. Maybe because they raised the bar last week, this felt like a drop off.
We did have HBK talking about the Edge and Orton match. How, can they deliver? I think they can. He picked Edge. He'd said that some wisdom and some age and some grit would get Edge over the edge, and he laughed about it. I want to just point out Shawn Michaels is rocking like a full grizzly beard, and it's just like, I don't know who you are.
Come on, run your hands through it, Robert. Run your hands through it. But for the podcast listeners.
But like, what happened to the sexy boy, the boy toy, with the mullet and the 90s
Sexy
glam
man.
rock hair.
Sexy man.
He's just like a full rugged man, and it's an amazing thing to see. I don't know what happened.
He that's a very rugged beard. I heard someone compare him to Sugar Bear from the Honey Boo Boo reality show. So it was quite the visual that they parlayed there. Never would I think one of the most handsome and sexualized wrestlers of all time would be compared to the dude from Honey Boo Boo Child.
You know, did you ever think like a Nitro Girl Whisper just ended up with what's Grizzly Adams over here? It's amazing.
Yeah, if you're with us, give us your rating for Monday Night Raw, what you thought of the show. I didn't think it was bad. I just thought it was like right in the middle. You know, like nothing seemed to like crack a certain ceiling for me. I'm gonna
slam it right in the middle and give it a 5. Like, and that's like I want people to understand something. A 5 is not a bad number.
It was not a 5.
A 5 isn't a bad number to me. It just literally means did not move the needle one way or the other. It stays perfectly in the center and doesn't sway one way or the other.
And I think there's some things they're holding out before we get to the pay-per-view, which is like what, 2 weeks away. We got another week of TV before we get there. The worst is when you have like the cool angles 2 weeks before the pay-per-view. You get like that big climaxing thing like right before the pay-per-view happens. That's ideal to me. So if there's something they're holding off for next week, I'm okay with it. Let's talk about the WWE Network. This was a big rollout. This was broken earlier this morning on many mainstream media reports. And of course, we ran it at WrestleZone.com. You can check out the full story. There is a free version of the WWE Network, and you do not need a credit card. Something that was heavily emphasized tonight. I've been a subscriber since day one. Maybe there's some people that have been a subscriber and they didn't keep it, or they go in and out. Sometimes you change your credit card and it doesn't renew or something like that. So a lot of people have different takes on it, but there's this free version. It has over 15,000 titles on it. It will feature recent episodes of Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. How recent that isn't abundantly clear. So you may still have the same release schedule that you get with WWE digitally on the network, where we don't see it on the network for about a month. So you do get a lot of the content that they post on their YouTube, so that's already free. You'll get different original series, including Ride Along and obviously select pay-per-view titles. So they won't give you all the pay-per-views. It's free. So I think this is a pretty smart idea on WWE's part. Prior to WrestleMania, everyone is in the thick of quarantine at that point, and in some parts of the country that is still going and will kind of go sort of for a while here, it looks like. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was very, very smart of WWE at that time to roll out so much free content online, something they would do before WrestleMania every year, but never at this scale. And I think it really benefited them for WrestleMania. And I think this year's WrestleMania was one of the more watched ones, because people are fully into quarantine, and they had some things there that made it appealing to a casual fan to jump back in. I think this is for casual fans. This is for lapsed fans that go in and out of wrestling. But you've told me something about casual things. You don't think they exist. You don't think there is a casual.
I cannot take credit for this. And for the diehards watching, not doing a bit. Sean Ross said this on a stream last night, and I said the idea of the casual fan is a myth. And I went, holy crap, that makes so much sense to me. The idea being, those that watch wrestling know wrestling and follow wrestling to a degree. There's nobody that just like, I'll check out, you know. Mm-hmm. So even if they were past fans, they were heavy past fans. So I've come to the realization, based on that idea, that I think the only casual fans are kids. And if you can hook the kids, you got something. Because think about this, Kevin. No casual fan ever says, oh, I stopped watching wrestling in my 30s. They always say, I liked it when I was a kid. Yeah. I stopped when I got into high school. You know, or
I stopped when I got in college, or I stopped when I got when you're not with your buddy of friends that you watch wrestling with too. So.
It's never like I was 35 and I just woke up one day and said, hey, this isn't for me anymore. Yeah. You know, I think that's where this comes into play, because a kid I can see going, Mom, you don't have to pay for the WWE Network. It's free. All you have to do is sign up for it. Mm-hmm. That's a good hook.
And then the hook then becomes it's a freemium model. that a lot of people use. You know, a lot of podcasters have used this. This is something that's been used for digital content across the web. Some people have done pretty successfully with it. You can get Spotify, you know, and you get it, and it's not the full complete on-demand access, but they'll spin up the songs that they think kind of meet to the algorithm of you, and you do that. The thing about this is a niche service. So I think to meet Laps fans, I think we can say that Laps fans, people that used to watch it, maybe they come back for WrestleMania every year, Royal Rumble, those fans have always been there. And I would put them as casuals, but I get what you're saying. If you're a 10 or 12-year-old kid, yeah, you don't have a credit card, you can go to your parents and be like, can I just sign up for this with my email? And I can watch all this old stuff I have. I've mentioned this before. I have a nephew, and we'll talk wrestling, but there's a lot of stuff he doesn't know or care about. If it isn't on SmackDown on Fridays or a wrestling he can watch during the weekend, or it's on YouTube or one of the video games, he doesn't watch it. So he isn't watching Monday Night Raw. He isn't staying up that late on a Monday. He's like a grade school kid. So some people think that. So it creates different patterns. And I think this is a show that this is a showing that we can reel in people with different viewing patterns by giving them something for free, a lot of it, and giving it to them and saying like, all right, so right behind this $10 paywall window, we got all the big pay-per-views. I think it's that angle. I think it's something that if they did right away, it would be good. But here is the other sign I think that it brings up. I think this could mean at some point the price of the network goes up. That's pure speculative point. There's no reporting in that. I'm just saying, as I look at this, you give me a bunch of stuff for free, but then you say the paywall window goes up by like $2 or $3 a month. I mean,
here's the thing to me. I don't think you can increase the pay without increasing the content. I don't think you can increase the pay without saying, all right, you've been paying $9.99 for 6 years, pay $14.99, and we're going to give you progress and evolve and whatever.
Yeah.
But I will say, and this is purely my creative brain sparked, if you're going to get any adult to utilize this free tier, go, all right, once every quarter, Saturday night's main event on the network. It's on the free tier. So, sign up for the free tier. But while you're at it, check out all this other stuff we got. Because
and the Saturday night's main event could just be another way to bring big angles up or different things like that too,
Right. And my thing is, if you're doing this to try to increase the surface number of your subscribers, I'm all right with that. But, I just don't. I'm sorry. I think that anybody who wants to watch this stuff is enough of a fan who's going to pay to watch this stuff.
Well, and then the free option can make those people that are on the fence be like, all right, it's free. Here's my email. I can just log in and see recent episodes of Monday Night Raw. It also makes me think mind you, we don't really know. I haven't seen what it looks like because I have the regular version. I think it's odd that they're going to do the post shows on it. That's a good move. It's an odd move, but a good one. I think post shows are just more content, more stuff to watch. People have a lot of extra time on their hands. I mean, before this was going on, we were talking about WWE bringing pay-per-view content off the network, and that was still going on leading up to WrestleMania. Now it seems like they say those discussions are still ongoing, right? Or have been extended because of the pandemic. But then you saw WWE put the pedal down in terms of marketing of selling the network. Look at all the things we have on the network. And that I think is a better move because circumstantially it makes sense. You own that chip proprietarily. It is all yours. Everything you've invested, your wealth of content, all the on-demand things you have, the extra time that people could have to binge on things, the fact that they have the Undertaker documentary on there, which I think is great, would be awesome. I do think there should be some fun things on the network there's stuff they should do in the network they haven't tried. They haven't done they've done a couple of breaking news videos on it and when it initially started in 2014, but I would like to see them try and do more stuff like that. What's something on the network you think they could do that isn't there that you're obviously we're going to get NXT TakeOver this Sunday. I think that's going to be a great show. I think we're going to have a live post show for that too. But what do you want on the network that isn't there, Robert?
More deep dive documentaries like we saw with The Undertaker, but I want them more Like, give me some random. Tell me more about this WCW guy. I don't know. Give me a WCW guy. Alex Ray. I don't know how much we want to know about Alex Ray.
Yeah, but what does that mean to like a casual fan? I think they have to play off the big names.
Well, but you know what? Honestly, if I'm a casual fan, I go, you wanna get the casual fan? Announce every episode of Raw, every pay-per-view, every SmackDown from the Attitude Era is free. Go get it. Well, and that drives the numbers.
Yeah, but I think they're going to do stuff like that. We're going to say we're going to put this on the free tier. You're going to see a bunch of different collections get thrown over there too. They can do it, But then I could see people who pay for it being like, well, why am I paying for this? But it isn't exactly clear how much people in the free tier are going to get beyond what they've already said, which seems worth it. If you just want to just check it out casually now and then, I can send this to people who are like, wrestling, I only watch WrestleMania. Well, no, okay, I'll check that out. Like that's a good way to, I think, to hook people. I don't think it's a bad idea. Do you think it's a good idea or not?
I think I'm on the fence. I really am, because I just feel like wrestling is a niche product as is, and those that will pay, those that are going to watch are going to pay.
But this is a way that you don't have to pay, so you can try it. And then if you want to pay...
That's why my focus, for me personally, is on the children, because I think that's who you're reeling in here.
Mm-hmm. And I just think in the long term, it's a very, very smart idea. I don't think this is a short-term decision. And this is something they were kind of like looking at the biggest quarter of the year, WrestleMania. We see this. Okay, let's go in, and I think it's a fair, there's so much footage they have out there for free on YouTube anyway. Why not formalize that and put it through the network feed? I think that's a good idea. If you have a lot of people that just watch on YouTube, this is a way to convert them and see what getting into the data system of WWE is going to do for you. This gentleman chimes in on every show, watches every show. We absolutely love him. His name is Robert
James Espanto Fernando Tagay.
He says, "Big cap." Robert, what do you think of WWE will do for those that pay for the WWE Network to keep them from dropping the paid version? Well, the same thing I think they're always doing is you're getting the pay-per-views, you're getting the pay-per-views, you're getting the takeovers. I don't think you're going to, you'll see some of that stuff that months ago, on there, but I could see them, I could see the Last Dance, I keep doing it, the Last Ride only being on the network feed. And I do see stuff for the hardcore fans. If you're paying for it, you're a hardcore fan. There's something I saw on the network last night that I absolutely loved. I thought it was very, very well done. And it was called The Lost Tape. And it was Sting. It's just a day in the life of Sting at the arena. It's not a ton of footage, but the way they shot it, and they did it with kind of like VHS tape, and it's just like a producer kind of with him backstage as he prepares for a match with Big Bubba, aka the Boss Man. And then they have the match in there. I do think there was something, it was about a half an hour presentation. But but I do think it was weird that like when they finished the actual like all the documentary type stuff around the match, they kind of show you the match. I would just be like, let the match play. Because for some people, they haven't seen the match, right? And they kind of give away the finish of the match. And now let's watch the whole match with a finish you just saw. That was one thing that only irked me about it. But it was really, really cool. There's some really, really fun stuff with it. Like Macho Man joking with him about owing him money from a gin game backstage, just randomly in his gear. Macho Man putting his glasses on backwards and Sting saying, all right, no, hey, don't say anything to the camera. We got to fix these glasses. And but them still kayfabing each other. Like Buff Bagwell being like, hey man, I really appreciate you. We're gonna have a good time. And him having to go into character as he realizes he's on camera. Mean Gene with his tuxedo over his shoulder as he walks along. Hey Sting, like that type of thing. It was kind of funny. I believe they were talking to Sting while he was on the 1-900 number, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I thought that was like we were back in the 90s pay-per-views. They would say, call the 1-900 number to hear what Sting thinks right now. He's on the line. It's $3.95 a minute or something like that. So there's stuff like that on the network you're still going to see. And I think documentaries on those beloved characters that people in their 30s and 40s like, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the interviews they've done with him, the Undertaker series, The Last Ride, the Sting special, stuff like that, I think on top of the pay-per-views they offer is what's going to keep you. And for some people, maybe that isn't there. I do think adding the independent wrestling content that we mentioned that they are involved with Evolve. Evolve did have that special. What was that, last year on there?
Yes.
And they have Progress in the UK. I do think the UK is really hurting right now because NXT UK is basically just been put on hiatus with everything that's going on.
They're on ice, yeah.
I do think something for them that's very centric to them would be important. But here's why I am here. A lot of people text in here with different takes. Tommy B texted in and said, I did like that Ric Flair gave up his title. His career was to be the man. You have to beat the man. WWE is greedy to have him take for that. Of course, that was the legal settlement. That story coming here with Ric Flair no longer trying to challenge them on the title of the man. Of course, Ric Flair wants to tell everyone he is the man, and you have to beat him to become the man. So he's going to take you to court to prove that he is the man.
Well, now what are you going to do? He signed a new deal. That is probably thrown in there. I didn't see it as much of a thing. I saw it as Flair throwing a hissy fit when he did that to them anyway. I don't know. Like it's fine for what it is.
Mm-hmm. Let us know what you guys want to see on the WWE Network that isn't already there. There's so much there, though. That's my thing. I was like, everything they already got on there is incredible. I was checking out another podcast that you work on, Smark Out Moment. You guys did a fan announce table, like a watch along with the first In Your House pay-per-view from about 25 years ago. This made me feel very, very old. And I remember wanting these In Your House pay-per-views as a very young child and not being able to get them.
I can tell you that my family did enter the prize pool to win the house. They did not win the house, obviously.
And you live in Florida. You guys
Bro, I know I'm living in the house currently. Don't know.
I got you started in wrestling. Parents want a house now. We owe it to WWE to watch the product for all these years. They gave us a house.
That's right.
Bunch of taxes on that, probably, if you want it to. So definitely go check that out on YouTube. That was something I enjoyed last night while staying up way too late with everything that's going on in the news. If you're watching the show, I don't want to get into this too much. Obviously, it's outside of the bubble of wrestling. You guys follow the news. You know what's going on. Obviously, we have the pandemic, and we've had a lot of unrest in the United States and parts of Canada the past 2 weeks related to the awful, awful death of George Floyd in a police-related situation. And there's been a lot of protests. There's been a lot of people really upset. There's been very, very peaceful protests and some very, very upsetting, violent ones. And I just want people to be empathetic to each other. I think through all of this, can we just be? I know that the corny phrase, "Oh, can we just have some peace and stuff like that?" But I really think, especially having to follow it for my other job at 101 WKQX and being here in Chicago, a city that has a long history with it. With this issue, that I think people have to be empathetic to each other and respect other people's humanity. I think is a startling thing. I think we have to say to each other, and we're forgetting that we're just not, names in a line or some person that controls an avatar. We're actually, not just these people you see on the screen. There's someone out there that you anger. And I got into this fight with someone with Twitter who was from a red state and I'm from a blue state. Just calm down.
We are people, and it's shocking for all of us to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And just be good to each other. It sounds so cheesy, I know, but
it sounds cheesy, but I think it's important.
I think
honestly,
we've never been in more of a time where it's just like find the good in life. And that's what we try to do with wrestling. And I know we like to get all bothered by wrestling, but it's like it's find the good in life and just enjoy the good in life.
Yeah, and I'm asking you guys to do that now. I know there's probably some people that have been affected by this as well. And wherever you are, we hope you guys are safe, especially with everything going on. And you're doing everything you can. You're washing those hands. You're wearing that mask. All that good stuff. Doing the right thing that you have to do to get through this thing. Because we will. We have to. We have to get through it.
We have to get through all of it.
And there's a lot going on right now. It's a very, very challenging time. And sometimes it feels silly. when our jobs are talking about professional wrestling. But we're still doing our jobs, and we hope we're doing a good job for you guys through all of this. We still think that, like, especially the people that tune in every day and download the podcast, we still hope that we're giving you the quality through all of these things. Something I've been talking about on the show coming up later this week, and I want to do this, Robert. I've been talking about bringing in a very trivial element to the show, and not trivial in the sense that you can forget about, trivia in the sense of trivia. That's right, Robert. I'm bringing in, coming up on this week's Thursday edition of the show, the Comprehension Trivia Crusher. Can you survive the Crusher? All right. Everyone knows the famed Crusher from Milwaukee. If you're an old school wrestling fan, and he's the man who made Milwaukee famous. And now we're the people that are going to make wrestling trivia famous. Can you, Robert, defeat my calculated, crafted trivia comprehension crusher? Will you be able to comprehend everything that happened in the week of wrestling before this Thursday and defeat the Crusher? Can you do it?
I am in awe of your alliteration admiration, Kevin, but I must say, I think I can.
You have to give me much consideration.
I must. And I will give consideration to conquering your cranium cruncher or whatever it is that Ryan Adams used to do. I don't know. I spent some time in Hawaii. I think I can beat the Crusher.
Okay. All right. Oh, you're talking about Kona Crush.
Yeah, that's a demolition. Kona Crush reference. Yeah, that's a.
I love Crush. Well, purple and gold Crush, 90s head vice Crush.
What a man!
He was. You ever like a wrestler for any reason? He's not a huge star, but you just pick a guy in the mid card and he's your guy. He's was never going to be a world champion, but I love me some Crush, and Crush was fine. Like he didn't move the world or nothing. But I don't know what it was. I love me some Crush. Dude's out there rocking a mullet and a high top, just putting a head vice on people, putting knuckles to temples. Comprehension Crusher, do you think you can defeat it this Thursday?
I think I can conquer the Comprehension Crusher.
Yeah, and people at home watching or listening, I'm going to see if you guys can do it too. All right, so you're going to watch wrestling this week, or at least follow along at WrestleZone. And I will ask very, very specific questions about what's going on in the week of wrestling, and many questions that may or may not have been going on, or something that happened on this day or on this week in a different time. So you'll have to comprehend it all and defeat the Trivia Crusher. So it'll be quite something special that we're adding to the show to shake it up quite a bit here. Moving along here in the world of wrestling, is there any other big stories that we got to touch on before we get out of here?
I think we're good.
I think we've covered everything.
I do want to say real quick, I'm browsing through this free tier of the network.
Yeah, what do you got there?
So it appears to me that you can get 10 episodes, the 10 most recent episodes of Raw. So there's no
pretty cool.
There's no Attitude Era stuff. I think that's a missed opportunity. They do the Monday Night War documentary up there for those that like that. You get 10 episodes of NXT, but they're excluding the most recent month, I assume, as to play along with the USA deal. Yeah, and then you get 10 episodes of SmackDown.
And they have a Hulu deal too. So you can watch all their weekly TV shows the next day on Hulu, but it's never certain like what time it goes up, which is kind of annoying.
And then I think elsewhere there's also there's Raw Talk, there's The Bump, and there's their best ofs.
That's kind of the best ofs are actually pretty cool. They put out a handful of different best of collections that I've just had on in the background while doing work, and they're like hours and hours long, and it's just like best cut matches. Here we go, in and out intros. A couple of guys in the studio doing them.
In regards to TakeOver, you get a year's worth of TakeOver.
That's pretty sweet.
In regards to Mania, you get 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35. So you have 5 Manias. 5 really recent Manias.
For free. For free with no ads.
Which to me is just mind-blowing. That you even get 5 full WrestleManias for free.
They get you for free. They get you hooked, Robert, and they bring you in. That's what they do.
I think that's a good role. I think it's good.
Yeah. So now you're on board with it, because earlier you said you were on the fence. Now you're on board with it.
But again, I'm thinking 5 WrestleManias. a lot of takeover. You can hook it. You can hook the kids. Gotta hook the kids.
But they've been giving you the first month for free for like the last few years, right?
Yeah,
Even WrestleMania, which is crazy.
But that, again, speaking strictly from the only person who I think is going to benefit from this, it's harder for a child to convince their parent, hey, let me charge this thing to your card next month, because, if they will forget, other than, hey, let me sign up for this thing for free, and wow, I really like it, now I'm a wrestling fan. Now, when I'm old enough, I'm just going to do all this wrestling stuff.
Or, he's already got it on he needs another tier of it. Like they get you to try it. And all right, he's watching enough of it. Okay, we'll pay for it. You know what I mean? That's another thing too. If they see you watching enough, all right, I'm your mom or dad. I'll throw $10 a month down.
And then if you're WWE, you sneak a little, hey, get 3 months for free. You sneak that little coupon code in there, and then, oh my God.
Get the little coupon code in there.
I've forgotten that I've subscribed to this. Whatever do I do?
Vernon, as we're talking about the kids getting hooked on wrestling, Vernon texted in and said, we need to educate our youth on the Rock and Sock connection.
We need to educate our youth on a lot more than the Rock and Sock connection right now, but that is a great example of two sides coming together for a common good. So maybe weird thing, but maybe we can use that.
But Robert, what do you honestly? What do you think of Vernon's comment here on the screen texting in?
What I think.
It doesn't matter what you think, Robert.
Golly, I walked right into that.
You took the bait, Robert. You took the bait, and I slammed the bear trap down on you. We will return, of course, tomorrow. I believe we'll be on air. So if we're not, we'll get to, we're following the situation. Okay. So I'm just trying to be loose and honest about that. So you guys can follow us on social media at WrestleZone.com on Twitter, same on Instagram. Of course, here on Facebook. If you're catching the show and you don't like us on Facebook, like the page, and then you have to follow it. Another hoop that Mr. Zuckerberg has given us. And so you'll get notifications when we go live. You can jump here on screen with everybody that's in the old WZD clan here. So I appreciate that. Everyone who's in the stable, the faction of action. So I appreciate it here. Steven Chambers saying, stay safe, Kevin and Robert. Stay safe, WZ fans. Thank you, Steven. Appreciate that. You as well. We hope everyone is safe and good out there, you and your family, wherever you guys are watching the show in the United States and beyond. Please remember, especially now, we're watching wrestling. I had some fun watching Raw tonight. Was it the best episode of my Raw? No. You know what? But I had fun. And I had fun watching Raw, and I saw some cool stuff. And pay-per-view is going to be all right. Is it turning the world over? No, but it's a good escape from what's going on right now. Because when we watch wrestling, what are we supposed to do, Robert?
And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Turn off your brain. Try to shut out everything else that's going on. Sit down and just enjoy wrestling.
Hell yeah.